Hey everybody, it's Pete. Welcome to a new episode of today's best stock picks. We're actually going to be making a list of the stocks I plan on trading this week. We have a ton of stuff going on. Obviously, more earnings. We're going to talk about the Chinese electric vehicle stocks, which obviously is going to have us talking about Tesla. We're going to talk about levels. We're going to talk about how long we plan on trading them, whether they're going to be day trades or swing trades. We're going to talk about the resiliency of this market. I guarantee there's going to be opportunity this week. It's just a question of what time frame you're trading on. So we got a ton of stuff to cover today. One thing I want to announce, though, right at the beginning of the video is that if you're trading options, or specifically whether you're day trading or swing trading options, we're actually going to have an options Q&A call today at noon. So if you could make the call live, click the link below the video. Make sure you register. And I know it's going to be a good, probably around a half hour, 45 minutes, maybe even longer if we have more questions. So options Q&A today at noon. So stick around. I'll be back in just 1 second. Okay, as with everything that we do, just want to make sure everybody knows these are my personal trading game plan for the week. Obviously, you should make your own choices. You should make your own decisions, consult your own financial advisor. Everything we do is for educational purposes so that I can help you learn to make better decisions, but ultimately those decisions are your own. So first thing we're going to talk about is the resiliency in the market this week, specifically the SPY, the NASDAQ, the diamonds, or the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We did a video last week on the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the top 30 stocks and how we're looking to trade them coming into this week. Now we're going to break it down a little bit more into the market, specifically the SPY. We're going to get a little bit into sector rotation as we do every week. We're going to do a deep dive into those sectors. And then we're going to wrap it up with Chinese EV stocks and Tesla and the specific levels that we're watching there as well. So I'll just give a quick overview here. If we take a look at the SPY, just absolutely amazing price action considering some of the big tech stocks that just got absolutely crushed last week, and the market didn't blink. I mean, it opened lower, but specifically stocks like this, you would think that there would have been a lower opening and a push through. But really what we ended up in our community, all we kept talking about was when is this market going to crack with all of these big stocks taking a hit. Pinterest got absolutely shellacked. Twitter broke out, did not have the greatest follow through at all. Apple did not have great follow through after earnings. But what we are seeing is after some of these stocks have pushed lower, they're kind of pausing. We did not get follow through to the downside. And Oracle is actually an interesting one too. It was one of the stronger stocks that we had on the board probably for the better part of 2 months. Had one giant day of distribution, which is selling on heavy volume, but then it's just kind of going sideways for the next 5 days. So keep that in mind as well. Oracle has one of those price patterns. I didn't plan on talking about this, but like there's so many things going through my head. Oracle has one of those price patterns where consolidations, really, really tight consolidations, and the longer that consolidation goes on, the more likely you're going to see what we call an expansion in volatility, and usually can get a good 3 to 5 days of easy trades after that, because once it breaks up or down, you get a nice push. Obviously, to the upside would be pretty good. So we just take a look at Oracle there for a second. I just want to show you that. So this is what I mean here. One distribution day after the stock having been strong for the better part of a few months. These bullish moves that were relatively easy to spot. This big gap down over here was a little bit confusing, quite honestly. It did come after earnings, but not so much the gap down because of the guidance. It's this vicious move to the upside after the fact, followed by indecision. We actually got long over here looking for this breakout, ended up taking a small profit on the trade on the way down when it didn't follow through. But now that the stock is just consolidating here for 4 days, I'm going to be looking for a new push. So getting back to the market and the overall picture of the SPY, pretty darn impressive, really impressive. This gap down into this 5 days, we were expecting a pause, best case scenario. Worst case, we pull back a little bit and then rally again. But we didn't pull back, which was just amazing. And this is something that you absolutely need to learn is no matter what you read in the headlines, make your own decisions and pay attention to price action. Price action does not lie. As of right now, as of this day, heading into Monday morning, looking in the week of August 2nd, 2021, I'm looking to buy the stocks we're going to mention today, but very carefully, you need to pay attention to the time frame I'm looking to and the levels that I'm looking to buy and the position sizing I'm looking to buy. We get questions about this all the time, which I think I've mentioned once or twice before, where we're talking about ideas. These are ideas that go into the game plan. Then there's a step after that, which is something that you really need to plan for. And this should be a part of your trading plan that ultimately becomes your game plan, is knowing what levels, what position size, and what are the profit objectives. There's certain kind of markets where one is a momentum type market, or even a trade that's a momentum type trade, where as soon as it pushes up and slows down a little bit, you're moving up your trailing stop, because that's what the conditions call for when you understand order flow and how to do tape reading. And then there's other conditions where when it pushes up and pauses, you're actually looking to add to those positions. So your trading plan outlines all of those kind of conditions, but then your game plan looks for stocks that match those conditions. So it's a very big distinction between the two. So as of right now in the market, we're still in trend mode. We're not really in momentum mode right now. It's longer term, a little bit more patience until we see that change. We also have the infrastructure bill, which is kind of in the background right now. So that might be why some of these basic material stocks that we're about to mention are finding some strength. So we're going to head back on over. We're going to now broke down the market. We talked about the market resiliency. The market is talking to us and telling us not yet. As of right now, we're still looking to bid for stock. Now we're going to go over and do a little bit deeper dive into the sectors. So once we dive into the sectors, this is actually what we're going to be taking a look at and where my main focus is for this week. I'm going to be watching basic material stocks as we started initiating positions in there last week. We're going to review energy stocks. And this is really where, when we show you this during the day, you need to be a little bit industrious, for lack of a better way of putting it, no pun intended. You need to go a little bit deeper. This is why we throw different time frames of performance in here. Energy bounced a little bit this week, and we'll take a look at a couple of stocks that did. But for the month, which is the last 21 days, they're not performing that well. So we're going to show you energy-based materials, but then we're going to go down into technology and look for a few ideas. So that's really where we're going to end up focusing right now. So if this kind of stuff is new to you, this is really what it takes to make a leap from chart reader to trader to somebody who has unshakable confidence in what you're doing. And I hope that I'm giving you that during these videos, at least giving you ideas. But I think the biggest thing, the biggest separation, if there's a gap between where you are now and where you want to be in your trading, if you're not getting the results you want, more often than not, is you just need to go a little bit deeper into the ideas. It's not as simple as running a scan like we just talked about with the energy stocks. They meet the scan criteria, but I'm going to show you they're not necessarily trading ideas yet. There's stuff that goes into our tracking journal, which is what we watch over time and set alerts, versus the game plan, which are the ideas that we start trading today. Might want to pause that and take notes, because we're covering some real trading stuff today. Okay. So now we're going to go over and we're going to take a look at some of the basic material stocks that have made its way into my list today. And specifically, last week we called out a breakout in Alcoa. So we have a position somewhere up in the 43, 44 areas where we're going to be looking as an initial profit target. NUE, very similar price action. Got involved 3 days ago, and you can see up in that 110 area would be the first area that we'd be looking for. STLD is getting a lot of conversations this week, but I'm not looking for this until it actually clears the 86 level. So you can see this is actually, you know what? I'm actually going to come back on the screen right now. Let's see if I can do this correctly. I'm going to do it like this. STLD is a good example of a trade where it's obvious, the side of the market is obvious, but it only has about 7 days of order flow. So we don't see that much longer term bullish order flow. So you only have maybe a week to a week and a half of order flow where the smart money, the deep pockets, are buying that stock. So now in your mind, you're like, okay, how much commitment has the big money made to the stock? Is it 2 weeks or 2 months? In this case here, it's just 2 weeks. So that lowers our expectations. So we tiptoe our way into that idea. Plus, how much room to go does the trade have? In this case here, you can see that there's resistance just above here. Now, so many people put all these fancy definitions on what support or resistance is. So I want you to write this down too. This is a big one. Resistance is simply, where is the last place sellers did something significant? That's it. Don't make it more complicated than that. So you can see that over here, it's between 65 and 66. So this would be a momentum trade for me up to that, which maybe would be a 1 or 2 day. And then if it can clear that and has room to go, then we'd shift over into maybe looking to build that position. So those are the primary basic material stocks that I'm keeping an eye on. LIN met the criteria last week as well. And you can see that actually did punch through that level. So those are the primary ones that I'm watching in that sector. Now, we talked about energy stocks and why they are only coming in the list because this is sorted by what they did for the week. So because of that, we do a little bit of a deeper dive. There's a couple of them that are okay. So VLO, again, you look at the difference between what it's doing for the week. This is technically a bear flag right now. So this should be in my tracking journal because volume is picking up. We're rallying off the lows, and now it becomes interesting, but it's not becoming a trade yet. So VLO matches that criteria. MPC matches that criteria. CVX matches that criteria. So what we're doing is what we're setting up is trades for the coming week, trades for maybe the coming 2 weeks. So you start to put the pieces together like, oh, that's interesting. Volume increased, price action increased. So remember what we just said about order flow. It's a big thing to recognize order flow. Is it 1 hour, 1 day, 2 days, a week, 2 weeks? Right now, it's coming off the bottom, but it's still in a longer term bearish order flow. So the conflict there. So maybe we could trade them on a short-term momentum type basis, but they wouldn't be at the top of the list. Remember, there's ideas. And then if you were on my trading floor in New York City, we would say, is that the best idea on the table right now? So that's a distinction that you need to make. So if it's a good idea and it's at the top of the list, you might size up a little bit more share size and plan to trend trade that and hold that a little bit longer. If it's not a great idea, but you're like, you know what, it is getting buying, you would have a little bit less share size, a little bit less position size, and you'd be a little bit more likely to be momentum trading. So a push and a pause you'd be getting out versus a push and a pause and you're looking to add, okay? So now we're going to work our way over into some technology stocks. And specifically, we're going to be taking a look at semiconductor stock, AMD. AMD is a stock we've been calling out for the last couple of days, and you can see it definitely, look at the market attention it has right now. But again, now it's 1, 2, 3, 4 days, 3 days into the rally, plenty of room to go. You can see the longer term price action that got taken out here. Now there's two different distinctions here. Are you looking to add to an existing position on this breakout? Or are you looking to day trade the stock? Or are you looking to put the first piece on of a new swing trade? If you put the first piece on of a new swing trade, it's 3 days later into the trade, 2 days after the breakout. This for me would be less position size because I'm late to the optimal entry. Want to shift our way over. There's a couple of other ones. Qualcomm, very similar on a breakout, a push, and a pause. TTD is actually one that we've had since last week, looking for this to come back and catch a bid. We're still in the money on that one. And Net actually has earnings this week, is another one to keep an eye on. The only thing I don't like about Net is we're starting to see some reversal patterns up here. It's bouncing a little bit, but it's got to get above 120 and stay above 120. Okay, so we covered all those. Now we're going to get into Chinese electric vehicle stocks. But we're going to start out with Tesla. If you remember in last week's video, we said Tesla at 700 is the line in the sand that we're looking at. And you can see it is right there right now. It's 697.52. $2 is not a big deal for that stock. Actually very close to Friday's high. And it has plenty of room to go. You can see anywhere from $50 to $70 depending on where you're looking at. Now, here's the thing with Tesla. Earnings came out. Didn't explode after earnings, kind of stayed right in that window. A couple of days later, finally caught a bid. Tesla, for the better part of at least a month to a month and a half now, going back to mid-June, has been in this back and forth trading range. So that means that there has not been longer-term bullish order flow. So you need to say to yourself, okay, can I say, wow, buyers are really in charge of that stock? I can't wait to be involved with them. Right now, Tesla is kind of more of a momentum trade where it's back and forth, plenty of liquidity. It needs to get through that level. I get asked this question all the time. Well, if you like it above that level, why don't you buy it now down here? Because it doesn't have sufficient room to go for a longer trading opportunity. You got to take a little bit wider stop loss for a bigger picture, but you can actively trade it even while it's in there because it has liquidity and daily volatility. So the day trade versus the swing trade is going to be influenced by whether or not it has room to go on that time frame. So room to go means profit potential. Above 700 for me, Tesla has a little bit better profit potential to hold for a longer term trade. So now we're breaking down the difference between I found an idea and how would I manage that idea. Okay. And by the way, if you happen to be new to the channel, please make sure you click down and subscribe. That would mean the world to me. And absolutely leave a comment because I want to know what your questions are, because this is really, it gives me great ideas for what to cover in future videos, which is why we're spending a lot of time today on trade management. And if we provide value, smash that like button. That would be kind of cool too. I'd appreciate it. So now we're going to jump over to some news here. Xpeng announced delivery for July, a record month with 228% increase. LI going to have the same announcement this week. And what does that mean, right? What does that mean? How does that translate into a trade? There's been a monster backdrop to all of these stocks with the regulatory announcements and whatnot. I will tell you from having traded these stocks, and you can see here, this should be obvious to you right now that this is different than this. These stocks right now, for me personally, are a day trade. There's so much going on behind the scenes that when you're waiting for the government to stay out of the picture, that's not really a place where I can feel a lot of conviction. So I am going to be actively trading, and I'll give you the stocks right now, just so we're clear. XPEV, I'm going to be actively day trading the stock. LI, I'm going to be actively day trading the stock. And NEO to a little bit lesser degree. And you can see actually NEO is not bouncing with the other two that it hasn't announced yet. And you can see it's actually Friday, it kissed that trend line. So for me personally, right now, I'm not buying them with options. I'm not holding them as swing trades. I am looking to day trade these stocks because they're in the news, because they have a catalyst, and because they have good ranges intraday where you can trade plenty of size. So that's the way I trade. I am not trading with, I'm not holding these positions overnight because of that backstory. If that backstory kind of settles down and maybe even goes away, I'll feel a little bit better. There's certain situations where I feel comfortable. Now, look, you can come back and make the argument that that could happen to any stock. Sure, it can, but it is happening to these stocks right now. So I'm just choosing to only day trade them. That's the way I'm looking at them. If you want to trade them with options, or you choose to look at them any other way where you know what your downside is, of course, that's fine. But that's how I'm choosing to attack these stocks. Right now, I'm only looking to buy them as day trades. But this catalyst is a pretty good one to be in there actively trading. I will tell you, though, if you know your history in these stocks, even over the last year or so, they have been leaning towards sell this news. NEO comes out with great numbers. The stock collapses over the next 3 days, 3 months, quite honestly. So it's going to be interesting. You have the governmental cloud hanging over these stocks, and you have announcements of vehicle deliveries, which has tended to be a sell the news event. Now, something that's different about sell the news. Sell the news is a little bit more prominent as a trade to get out of as opposed to get in when the stock has had a rally prior to that news. So sell the news means that you're selling what was already priced into the stock on the way up. That's not necessarily the case here. These stocks have actually been in downtrends to sideways over the last 4 weeks. So it's going to be interesting how they unfold, but I can't wait to get in there and trade them today. So that's my game plan for the week. This is the start of the week. This could iterate during the week. I could have different stocks pop in there. A lot of earnings this week coming up. So these are the stocks as of Monday, August 2nd, that I'm looking to buy going into the week. Hopefully you'll post any questions you have below about what we talked about today. Have an awesome, awesome day of trading. Have an awesome week of trading. Let's make it happen this week. Thanks again so much for watching. I really appreciate it.